And of course, thank you very much, everyone. Turn off the microphone. It's more easier for me to give you the best webinar possible. But please just give me your questions in comments. I will be really happy to answer them in the end of the webinar. So please just put your question in the comments, and I will answer them in the end. You can book. Yes, you can book an individual demonstration of the welding, the Sirfull welding solution. So click on www.sirfull.com and book your webinar, your personal individual webinar with me, and you can. It's a really nice possibility to see live the full solution. But right now, let's start with the webinar. So, 3 parts. The webinar is divided in 3 parts, and you will get some definitions. So what we are talking about when we come to data book. How to make a welding data book. So I will show you what I call the classic method, and of course how to automate the making of welding data book with the Sirfull software. So finally, we are on the same page. We can start. So first one, the first chapter is really useful if you are a beginner when it comes to welding data book, but it can be really useful if you are not very used with final technical documentation. If you only know welding data book, I know there are some confusions around some terms, etc. But the first thing I want to tell you is some few really important definition. So welding data book is a set of documents describing all welding-related operations for validation. It is delivered to the client and executing personnel before manufacturing. I identified other synonyms like weld log or welding book. I don't know if in English we can say welding book, but I know in French we exactly said welding book. But the thing is, it's just document where you synthesize all the operation just before manufacture, fabricate the product for the client. And the final technical documentation is all the documents enabling the traceability of the manufacturing history and to ensure that the final quality of the material complies with the required quality. Often concern welding, but not only. So this is another type of document that you will find in a lot of industry for a lot of application, not only for welding. And the main goal is to deliver something really precise that trace everything goes right, everything goes wrong during the fabrication of the product. Of course, there are also a lot of synonyms like technical files, manufacturer's files, regulatory files, completion files, manufacturer dossier, and the fabrication report. So I think we are on the same page. And this presentation, this webinar, concern both of the two documents, dossiers. Just before I spoke about regulation. Sorry, I can see there are French. There is some French. There are some French words in the subtitle, but it said that there are some regulatory regulations to take account when it comes to final technical documentation. And one of the main regulatory documentation we know in Sirfull is the PED, the Pressure Equipment Directive, and this is what you have to do in Europe or for European client when you build equipment, manufacture equipment. It says the manufacturer should draw up technical documentation, and of course you will find in this technical documentation description of the equipment, drawings, harmonized standards, results of design calculations made, the entity test record, and everything related to the qualification or approvals that are required. Sometimes clients give you some templates to follow. In France, we've got EDF for the electricity or GLT gas for the natural gas transportation, and they will give you they give you a template to follow in order to report all the stages and the data of the fabrication phase of your equipment. And who makes the welding notebook or welding book or welding data book? In Europe, we've got a specific term for that. This is the welding coordinator or the international welding expert and the welding team. So the welding team are the colleagues of the welding coordinator. And what I said is described in the EN ISO 14731. And it says any person is designated by the company who can demonstrate technical competency can do that. There are some similitudes with the ASME for in America, in US, sorry. And the principle is just to designate a very qualified person to create this kind of documentation. Okay, how to make a welding data book? So I think for the beginners it will be really useful, but if you are very if you make a lot of documents like this in the year, it could be really useful because you can relate to some difficulties and find new way, I think, or some inspiration to optimize your system. I hope so. So generally, the fabricator or manufacturer will use the same set of tools in order to achieve a welding data book or a technical documentation and a report file. So we've got the drawing software for the plan of the equipment. We've got the word processing software like Microsoft Word for the layout of the document. We've got the spreadsheet. So this is basically Excel in order to create your WPS, to manage all your welder qualification. A scanner, because you need to scan and to copy some WPS, PQR certificates, NDT reports, etc. And you need to concatenate or to combine everything in one document. And the best tool I know is PDF Architects, and it's free. The composition of the welding data book or the contents are generally this one. Not every time, but the majority, the backbone of the welding data book could be this one, I suppose. So you've got a cover page, you've got the weld location plan or weld mapping. You need to do that if you want to deliver an equipment that are compliant with the PED or with the EN ISO 3834, you need to provide this kind of weld mapping document. You also got the summary table of joint types, all the WPS-PQR, WPQR of the project, a nomenclature and certification of welding materials and welding consumables. You need to provide the heat number, the number of the certificates, but also a copy of the certificates. And this is the same for the NDT to be carried out if you do a welding data book, or the results when the equipment is done. When you provide a final technical report, you need to provide the results of the NDT and a summary of everything, of all the data of all the NDT for each weld. The information on the cover page are generally this one, but there are some technical difficulties sometimes with really knowing things like I will show you. So this is a document coming from our software, and this is fully automatic, but you can see there are some logos, pictures, and this picture could be really annoying if you are doing that with Word. I know it's not the best software for this kind of application, but sometimes we don't have the choice to use this software, and we have to struggle and put this kind of logo. But with some really there are other software, but I think like advanced version of PDF, a paid version of PDF, you can do this. You also got the revisions or the other versions of the document. You need to know who writes something in the document, but also the versions, the previous versions of the document. This is an example of weld mapping, and most of the time the weld mapping, the position of the welds are applied in the drawing software, and I think personally this is not the best way to do it, because the drawing software, the aim of the welding software is to design some shapes and really precise sketches, but you are going to put some numbers and ideas that are not corresponding to an effective welding table, a not complete welding table, because you are going to recreate the welding table in Excel spreadsheets in order to generate your welding data book after that. And I think it's not a waste of time, but it's not really optimized workflow. So this is some example of table of joint types or weld tracking table. So the first one is for welding preparation. Though this is the phase just before the stage, just before the fabrication. And just below, for the final manufacturing report, you've got more information, like for an example, the effective, really precise WPQ used during the fabrication. Just above, you put the WPQ that you think you will use during the fabrication, but just below, this is the effective WPQ. And on the right of the WPQ, you've got the intervention But more precisely, this is the performed entity and the result and the number of the copy of the result with the signature. This document. So it's in French, but I think you got it. This is the entity, and not only to carry out, but also the effective result. You need to manage the WPS of the project and PQR, and you can create sort of tables like this one. And the first one, I provide you with an Excel spreadsheet where you can manage your PQR and WPS. So the picture is in French, but I suppose in the link you can use an English one. But basically, this is the number of the PQR or the WPS, materials, thickness, joint, etc. So I think you got it because it's almost the same here. So the name of the WPS, the qualified PQR, or the PQR that qualified the WPS for an effective fabrication, and the other part of the main informations data of the WPS. So some copy. So you can, I provide you with an Excel spreadsheet for a WPS in EN ISO standard. So if you are very used with ASME, you can probably in few months or years to carry out some WPS for Europe. I don't know, but you can use this format. And this is just an example of formats in ASME 9, but I don't have a template for you. So this is just the template coming from the Sirfull application. For the PQR, this is basically the same. I will not give you some new insight. This is just an example of table. You can take this one if you want. We produce this one in Excel. This is PQR. I think you know this. PQR in ASME. So this one is a bit more tricky. This is the welder qualification report, and in order to make very precise welder qualification tracking table or report, you have to know precisely the validation, the end of validation of the PQR, all the history of renewal of the WPQR. And for that, I provide you with an Excel spreadsheet for the management of your welder certificates. The picture of like before is in French, but I think the link will provide you with an English one. But the principle here is to have right in order your WPS and the correct follow-up right in front of you in a very precise Excel spreadsheet. And just here, just below, this is an example of report you can do in the technique and in the Welding Data Book or in the end of fabrication report. This is a copy for PQR, a European standard. For the certificate for welding materials and welding consumables, filler metal, etc., you can provide this kind of document. So if you don't have a software, take a spreadsheet and copy this kind of templates and organize your material and filler metal like that. So you need to provide the the number of the certificate. So you have to store a copy of the certificate, a certificate for the welding material and field metal, of course. You need the heat number, the batch number, you need to provide the producer, and of course, it's more precise, it's better to know where the certificates is used. So if you have a plan, you can use a landmark or an ID you will use and put on your plan. This is a possibility. So where does this process reach its limit and where does it become problematic? So in order to realize that, you have to ask you some questions like this one. Do you manually assemble your welding data book? If yes, knowing that some fields in the welding specification are redundant, do you think it's really useful or really optimized to recopy or refill the same field over and over again to a new cases or a new project? And how do you archive your welding data book? Do you use paper or folder on your local server? And how do you track updates? So who is in charge of that? Can you track all the modification of the data book correctly? Or are these documents checked and approved? Okay, you need to know that. So, of course, there are some difficulties related to the classic method we just saw just before. So, of course, Word and Excel often used by welding specialists to manage their welding data book, WPS and welder qualification and technical documentation. Yes. And when you want to improve this process, sometimes decision makers do not prioritize their investments in equipment for dedicated solutions, like specific software for welding data book creation, because in the first time everyone can do a welding data book, but not everyone can do it very quickly, because sometimes, most of the time, it's like a run race with some obstacles, and of course this is not straight line to the final documentation. You have to collect and pick up some information coming from very different department of the company, and find some paper and document coming from a storage room or a PC computer, etc., in order to assemble that. And everything is coming from so many different places that it could be it's not really not really this is not a really good it's not very optimized, if you know what I mean. And when I'm seeing these sketches, sorry, it's a bit funny, because the Sirfull company exists since 2011, but for some of the company we know, the process is still the same, and over again, the difficulties to create this kind of document is still the same, and I think we cannot be used to this kind of paperwork based kind of thing, because edit a welding data book or end of fabrication report sometimes looks like an obstacle race, as I said just before, and I cannot speak for myself, but after 5 years dealing with clients, times and technology they haven't entirely erased the pain for some welding engineer when it comes to reporting and dealing with paperwork. So I'll let you with this funny meme that sums my idea. The risk of this classic method is the delay and undervalued know, because you spend too much time on paper treatment, etc. And what we think in Sirfull is that weld traceability is far too complex to be left to Excel or non-centralized system. What I cannot judge all the work you've done with your Excel spreadsheets and macros, but I can argue that the data security is not completely safe with an Excel spreadsheet, and the multi-user management is not provided with Excel, and there is no standardization of welding documentation, and all the process, as we saw just before, is long and tedious to maintain. Yes, there is one side of the welding engineer job that may not be automated or scripted, but there are maybe another in which it is possible to do so. And this is the next part, and one of the most important part of the webinar. So I'm going to show you live a welding data book generation in PDF. But firstly, you have to know that that Sirfull Welding is not only a welding data book or final technical documentation generator. You can do a lot of things like WPS creation, PQR management. You can do a project management for a welding application and other things. And right now, this is just a very this is just a small picture of what you can do with software. So I will switch my screen to another one when I will generate a welding data book. So I shut down my screen, and now I suppose, I hope you are seeing my web browser with a home page. Alors, okay, I've got a question. Can we get online demo of the WPS generation? Yes, I will provide you with a video. I will send you content about that. Unfortunately, I cannot change the course of this webinar, because we are not alone. There are some people in the room, so I need to go straight to the goal of this webinar. But don't worry, I will send you a very specific content and video concerning WPS generator. But thank you very much for your questions, and don't hesitate to send me some questions in the notes chat of the conversation room. So let's go for a project. Thanks. So this is the software Sirfull Welding, and you've got a project or welding case management. I am selecting a project with one equipment. So this one. Okay. And I enter the equipment. You've got features for the welding fabrication, and you've got features for the fabrication part of the software. Right now, I don't have the time to explain you everything in here or here, but I will open this part. In this part of the software, you will build the welding data book or the end of fabrication of the software of your equipment. You select the language, English, and you drag and drop all the chapter you want to see in your document. You add a chapter, you reuse an existing template coming from your software, you duplicate like this, remove chapter, and this table of content has got really useful report. So you got report for materials, component certificates, the plan, the kilometer certificates, WPS-PQR, WPQ for the paper preparation, and WPQ for the effective production, etc. And you can, of course, import, and this is really important, every kind of attachment coming from your desktop. So this is just an attachment, and you put your document coming from your computer, and everything is stored in the software, and it will be placed in the final document. So I've got two versions of this document, and we will download the last one I did just before this webinar. So basically it takes 1 or 2 minutes in order to generate this kind of document. So this is the data book. So you've got a treatment of the logos of your company, the logo of your customer, and the table of contents is provided directly on the front page of the document. So this is the chapters, the table of contents we saw just before in the software. The layout or template of this document is automatically reused for your data book, the version, and you've got the management of all the persons involved in this document. So let's go for the certificates. So chapter 1, materials. So in my preparation, I forgot to put the name of the materials used for my plan or equipment, sorry, but don't worry for that. Just don't forget to put this one, but you have the right to forget something because this is a draft mode. I just come back to the software and you can see that you can open or lock the chapter of the software in order to prevent this kind of mistake. Complete and or nothing like here. Okay, the certificates of the material are here, and we've got some copy of the material certificates. These copies are coming from the technical database of the software, and the software will find the correspondent document. So this is another type of report you can do with Sirfull. This is the component or materials of the equipment, but with ideas or landmark you will put you put on the plan. And another welding material certificates, the weld tracking table, but first the equipment plan. Okay, this is the same chapter. So you can manage plan coming from your welding brother, and you can put every type of document you want, but this landmark or ID are coming from the software, and this landmark are coming from, this is the old way to do in the landing, in the drawing software. This is the old way, and the new way is to put the ID coming from Sirfull, and this mark are displayed here, and the traceability is complete because you can match really quickly what I saw on the plan, like well number 1 to this table. Well number 1 is the component A and B, which is the WPS, which with qualified with PQR, and I suppose I will use the WPQ number, this one, when it comes to fabrication. So this table is when you finish the equipment, or you it's a bit empty because this is a draft mode. So for the moment, I didn't weld the weld number 1 and number 2, so I didn't consume filler metals, and I didn't plan the weld for the moment, so it's empty. And I don't have WPQ here because I didn't officially selected the real WPQ for this weld. Filler metal certificates. Because I didn't use filler metal, I don't have material certificates here, but the report is like this. You also got a WPS report, so I used 2 WPS for this project, and the software generates automatically the document for me in the Welding Data Book. I can generate automatically the document in standalone, a part of a case, but for this case, especially the document, you reuse the document WPS I create during the case or project management. So this is the fully compliant EN ISO WPS. WPQ, so WPQ for preparation, nobody, and for the prediction, I've got someone. Also, just before I did a mistake, I inverse the term. So for the fabrication, I've got someone for this project. And the software, you reuse the certificate, the welder certificate. And for the PQR, I've got one PQR used for this project, and the software find for me the proper copy of the of the PQR. Okay, so you can perform this kind of report for the fabrication. So what we saw just before, it's a mix of data book and of fabrication report, but you can implement really strong and fixed table of content for the fabrication, monitoring. sorry, for the preparation monitoring and for the fabrication monitoring, you can perform and document. Okay, I will go back to my previous presentation. So we are back to my PowerPoint slide, and for the live demonstration is over for this part, but I will send you this document and the replay of this webinar, and I will provide you with more video like this one, how to make a weld map but without drawing software, Microsoft Word or Paint. And so this is a video for you. So this is just for your a remembrance of the weld mapping functionality features, the data book, and the automatic generation of technical documentation. This is another video for you. So it was the last part of this webinar. So I will give you some information about the software. The software you saw is available in basic mode for Welding Data Book and premium mode for end of report technical documentation. I invite you to book with me an individual demonstration in order to see the full pictures of the software. And this is really important. You have to know that Sirfull Welding is an application available in the cloud without installation and quickly deployable. As an editor, Sirfull is an editor, integrator, and trainer of the solution. The Sirfull team will accompany you directly through the stages of your project. And please ask me more questions by email or phone or book a demo. Or this is right now the time to ask me more questions in the chat room if you want. I see there are some people still with us in the conference room. So if you want more insight or question of the solution, I will be happy to. So I've got a question. Is it available in app? So if you said, if you want to mean by app application for mobile, for smartphone, for an example, the software can be used a tablet. It's possible to use this. It's optimized for that. For the moment, it's not fully optimized for a mobile application. So if your screen is like this one, it's a bit complicated, I think. But if you've got a tablet like 14 inch, it's okay, I suppose. So I hope I answered your question, or if you want more precision, please ask me. We've got some time. I think I will stay here until 3 p.m. 3 p.m. if all the participants are still here. I can see there are some participants in the chat room. You're welcome. So if you need more information about the solution, you can go on sirfull.com, go straight here, and ask for demonstration, and let's chat together and go live in the software. I think it's the best way to see the software live and what you can do with it. So for the moment, for today, I hope you are satisfied of all the information you've got in this webinar. I will send you the document by email. So all the templates are for you, the videos, the replay. So you will get the proper document in PDF, but also the video. And that's all. I think it's enough for a first time. If you need more information, come back to me and book a demonstration of the software. I will provide you with all the information. And of course, I don't forget Mr. with the WPS generation. Okay. If you have more questions, don't hesitate. I think the webinar is over. We spend 49 minutes together. If you have more questions, I'm here for you. I'm here for you, or maybe if you want to stay until 3 p.m., maybe we can do together, I don't know, the WPS generation, if you want. WPS generation was the main theme, of the last webinar, the last month, and it was pretty popular because it saves you a lot of times, and it provides you with a strict way to implement, to design, to write WPS. So this is why these features is really appreciated by your clients. So I will perform just for you, because you asked, and because we've got some time, a quick WPS. So I prefer to do that in another cases, like this one. No, not this one. Okay, I love this one. Okay, for those, so this is this is not the only way to design a WPS in Sirfull welding, but I like this way. So if you create a new weld in the plan, you will use two materials in order to generate automatically the WPS. So if you just take a close look to the weld number 1, so the weld number 1 is a body flank with a I cannot see the name here. I don't know why. I suppose this is a steel component. I suppose this is the bottom of the heat exchanger. And if I want to create a new WPS, so just click on new WPS. And for that, the software is firstly he is asking you to find a qualification for the WPS, because the software suppose that if you want to create a welding data book, you have to be qualified in order to create the equipment. So let's go for that. I selected the only PQR I've got in the software that match the weld I want to implement. I click on save and just wait a few seconds and everything will be in place. Okay, I need to check that you can see what I project because a new table, a new page is open. So I think you cannot see it. So I need to close. I need to open back, and okay. Now you see the WPS I created automatically for my project. So for the specific warrant number 1. So all the information are coming from the qualified PQR. So this is the name, this one, and the standard. So this is EN ISO, but this is basically the same for ASME. We can do the same, and you can implement some really flexible modification, like the revision number. You can precise some variables. You can change the type of sketches. Sorry. You can put the name of the guy that verified the document. So you go to your address book and use one of the user of the software, approver, etc. The date. Really convenient. And validate the document. Okay. And you can print the document in English or French. So if I want in English, I click on English. So this is a standalone feature. If you want the document like that, apart from the case, you can do that. And I open my document in PDF. Okay. And this is really flexible. So the WPS, the monitoring of the WPS is here, WPS number 3. This is the new WPS. And validate in green. So I will use this WPS in my fabrication part of the software. So WPS3. And we can find a welder or WPQR for this exact weld. Certificate. I don't have certificate for this one. I have a certificate for this filler metal, so nice. Perhaps I need more welders, but I don't want to do that because I know one welder in my organization here. Okay, so this is just quick insights for the WPS generator. Okay, I think it's time for me to let you go. So thank you very much for your time. I hope it will be satisfied for you. I will send you the PDF document of this webinar and the replay video also. Please feel free to book a presentation, a live presentation of the software with me in one-to-one. It's really convenient in order to see if the software is right for you. And thank you very much. I wish you a nice day and see you the next time. Bye bye.